Been playing alone on our show now for a few weeks, and we've been getting some amazing feedback from Aussies here that are falling in love with the track. So congratulations on that.
Oh, that's great to hear. Because yeah, I'm a new boy in town.
So tell us a little bit about the band. For a lot of Australians, this is the first time they're kind of getting a feel for Alone and getting to hear the band. So tell us a little bit about the band. As you said, you're the new boy in town, so tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I say I'm the new boy in town because I'm not like my close friends know that I've played music for years, but I'm not really part of any kind of metal scene. Like, and I guess as cheesy as it sounds, I suppose someone could be like, he named himself Alone because he's alone by himself. But that's another matter. But yeah, like it's just I've loved like really like kind of metal and extreme metal for a long time, and I've recorded other types of things. But it's just that sometimes in life, you don't really find a way to kind of really make something concrete until just kind of the right elements kind of come together. So, so yeah, like I don't know what else to say. It's just like I'm just someone who started being able to make some of the music that kind of just like bounces around in my head recently.
Tackling,
I finally,
I was going to say, tackling a solo project is such an epic thing to do. Were you nervous about it at the start?
Not really, because like the solo aspect was kind of almost a comfort for me, because like I tend to regardless of what it says about my character, when I have a musical idea, I tend to not like people interfering with it unless I really trust them. And as I said, I don't really come from a scene. I don't know other musicians. Like, I don't have any experience in collaborating in the type of music I like and want to make. So that was really nice. And I've always, like, for a long time, I've always had a feel for, like, many different instruments. So it hasn't, like, I have a number of years of playing different types of things. So it actually wasn't that intimidating for me, because I did kind of have a background in being able to create all like the basic sounds of a metal band before I started recording.
You mentioned, You mentioned your love for extreme metal. When did that begin?
Well, I mean, like a lot of kids, like I started playing like electric guitar in high school, and a friend of mine was like, a friend of mine was like, "Hey, you like Metallica?" I'm like, "Oh, Metallica are fucking lame." And he's like, "Have you ever heard 80s Metallica?" And then I was like, "Oh shit!" So it started with that 80s thrash, you know what I mean? And then. And then when I went to college, I got kind of more into like I was like I had a period of time where I was like listening to like a lot of like non-metal music and stuff, because I was like into kind of like more like psychedelic shit. But then honestly, you know what I credit it to is the emergence of YouTube and the ability of like, there was a time where all of a sudden like records were on YouTube, and some reason metal records were the ones that are on YouTube, like extreme, like old school, like Bathory and shit were on YouTube, and they weren't, because they were like a little like they weren't super mainstream, so like no one really cared that much about like copyright claims. So I kind of came back to it, and I was like, what's heavier than like fucking like Metallica, and like I was always in the hardcore and shit. So like it started like when I was like in my like early 20s, then I discovered like basically like Bathory and Berzoom and like Immortal, and all this shit was free on the internet, and I basically had like this entire like this list of like intense bands that I could just listen to whenever I wanted. Now I try to pay for their records when I can, but when you're fucking like poor and young, it's like the best thing. So I mean, I kind of got into it, like, as to why I liked it. That's a different story. Like why people like extreme music. Like I think, like a lot of things happen in my life that, you hear that same aggression and darkness, and then you have like a vibe with it, like you relate to it.
Yep.
And there's all these sounds, and like I just remember, so that was kind of like how it happened. That's how it kind of sparked. So I kind of, like, so anyway, and like at high school, yeah, it was like thrash metal, but then like later, like more of that underground shit. Bathory's not super underground, but it was like that was the spark that really kicked it off. Like, I have a Bathory back patch on my fucking jacket. Like, so many metal people in extreme metal are just like, they're like fucking, they're like, well, not they, like he's like the guy. But yeah, that's kind of how like I got into it, and I just liked it more and more. It took more and more space in my head.
Yeah.
Like the music you like takes certain spaces in your head, and I like just that sound just took more and more. So I mean, yeah.
Did you have a metal store near you when you were growing up that was able to help you with that? Because one of the things I loved was when I was on my first journey into metal when I was in high school, there was 2 metal stores near me where you'd be able to go in, and if you liked a certain band or liked a certain sound, the guys behind the counter would be like, hey, you got to listen to these guys. And they were amazing guys that would go right back to the 80s for stuff and go, yeah, take a listen to this. Did you have that kind of thing for you as well?
Absolutely not. I grew up in a small. I mean, like it's kind of weird because you also hear a lot of metal, like aggressive music, like the same story. Like you grew up in a small town, and you didn't know like what else to fucking do, but you had all this like rage, and you didn't have a scene and whatever. But I was lucky that my small town, for as small as it was, had like a really good, like at least a punk scene. So I was like, I could see people making their own, like at least like kind of aggressive music. And but we didn't have a record store at all. It was completely different. Like I like this, like when I talk about like, I don't want to like, I'm not trying to advertise for YouTube. I'm just trying to say it's like there was a moment in time, I think, where there was a moment in time where like extreme music started populating like just YouTube channels.
Yeah.
And that was, and just my own curiosity and kind of the headspace where I was in, because I was kind of seeking that shit out. That's actually kind of how it happened. Now, I went to punk shows as a teenager, and that's obviously like an important element too, because that's like a background of like why I would seek heavier music. So that's like a very, like, you know, like I had friends into hardcore and shit, and they'd show me, but there was no like record player. It was all like friends. It was all the local punk scene who would like have records by like hardcore bands.
Yep.
Like the first heavy shit I ever loved was actually hardcore.
Yep. Okay.
So that's kind of how it happened. So yeah, no, I'm like a small town country guy.
Yep. Yeah, I was too. We were just I came from a really, really tiny country town. We were just really lucky that we had a couple of old metalheads in the town that set up stores.
Yeah.
So that really helped. Now
I can only imagine.
Yeah. So bringing it back to the village.
I mean, Australia. If you say you grew up in a small town in Australia, I'm like, you're talking like fucking out there.
Yeah. So bringing it back to the village, so many people are falling in love with this track. Tell us a little bit about where it came from.
I mean, it's kind of like the general way I work, and like just at the start, I don't like to like say too much, like go into too many specifics about how things come about, because the way I want people to like listen to my music, and it's also the kind of the way I like to listen to certain like extreme metal, is I like the fact that there's a murkiness, and the listener has to like have some imagination going. Because like when I listened to Bathory, I didn't know what the fuck he was saying most of the time.
Yeah.
But it allowed me to kind of fill in the blanks. Now that being said, like there is like a process and a method. And the way it kind of works for me, and it's also like a way I discover that I can work. It's all kind of growing at the same time, but generally, kind of how it works is that like there's some like kind of musical ideas I have in my head, and then I kind of find like some image or like even just like a photo, like online or something that kind of complements the music, and I kind of work from there. Like any kind of meaning in that sense really kind of comes after. It's more of a feel. So like there is, it's hard to describe.
So a lot of the questions that we're getting about this track now are where to now? Is this the start of a new album, or what are your plans for the rest of this year?
Like the first four tracks as an kind of an album on Bang. So my plan, yeah, I have a yeah.
So a lot of people are asking now with The Village, is this part of something bigger? Can we expect another album from you soon?
Yeah, so I have basically a compilation called one to four, which is brilliantly named. Very imaginative on my part. And so my hope, because I don't have a ton of like, I kind of make my plans as I go along here.
Yeah.
I don't have necessarily a grand vision. I try to keep it modest, almost like for my own confidence. But basically, my idea is that this will be the first track of a 4-song album. The other 3 songs, they're in like the early conceptual stage. But I wanted to kind of get this out there, because like, you know, just due to things like in my personal life, like I don't, like, obviously, like I have this like completely different life outside of music, so I wanted to at least get this out there. But yes, my plan is like there's going to be 3 other songs. I kind of know the general way they're going to go. So hopefully, like within a year, there'll be a new like. I'll probably not call it 5 to 8. I've already, you know, kind of been on that wagon.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna, you know, try something new. They probably will have numbers, but like whatever. But like, yeah, like I would like them to be like a part of a new like 4-song album, and then at the end of that, then it's kind of like depending on like the reception or whatever. Then there's the question of the next step. I'm really going like step by step here, because like this shit isn't really like the idea of a career or anything like that is like so far away from kind of like how I think about it. But definitely I would like to put this together with 3 other songs that I have in my mind.
Awesome. Well, mate, we are going to play 5, The Village, on our show right now. So what would you like to say to everybody out there before they take another listen to this amazing track?
Just at this point, like anyone who likes it and any positive feedback or whatever basically means the world to me right now, because I'm not really part of any scene or anything. I don't really have anyone telling me that like necessarily it's good or bad. It's just something I love to do. So like infinite gratitude to anyone who likes it.